Panic is a strange mistress. It is all-consuming, tireless, and bold. It eats into your soul and takes your strength. The best-laid plans can come crashing down in its wake, as was my destiny. Oops, stop, safety first. When I realized while planning my next smoking adventure that I had not bothered to get a key ingredient. I had all the rubs and spices and liquid necessities. What I was lacking was meat. I was heading to my Meijer supermarket to get the pork tenderloin roast I so desperately needed for this project. Through stop signs and stoplights and little old ladies. On arrival, I entered the store. Aisle upon aisle of various items. Clothing, hardware, beauty aids, pet supplies. Oh, look, Twinkies. The trek continued to the meat department, where I saw it, in the pork cooler. Pork tenderloin roast. Yet, I failed to notice on the label 6 letters missing that soon would haunt me. Back in the car for the mad dash home, to start smoking delicious meats with a twist. I was once called the master of ad-lib. My abilities were soon to be tested. At home.
Wow, I did that. It was still long and overdone. Anyway, yeah, I went to the store and I picked up what I thought I was getting was a pork tenderloin roast. What I ended up getting was a pork loin roast. Mistake. It really wasn't what I wanted to get. And that's the 6 little letters that are missing on the package when I picked it up and read it in a big hurry. Like you could see, the 6 little letters were T-E-N-D-E-R. Go between roast and loin. I mean, I've got to make it work. I have a plan. I have everything laid out. Things are going to come together. It's going to taste very good. The question is, can I make it work? I wish I would have read that label more carefully, though. But, you know, my eyesight's going, and I sometimes make mistakes when I look and pick it, because that's what
old people do. Old people do. Old people do.
So, let's get started. Let's prep this. Let's get it on the smoker, and let's see what happens. Okay, got to get ready to prep, so I've got my groovy black gloves that I will put on right now just so I don't contaminate myself nor others in the immediate vicinity. Now let me introduce you to my meat mistake. Yeah, I was going to get a pork loin roast with a rib in that I was going to fillet and cut in half and butterfly and do all this stuff. But unfortunately, I didn't get that. I got something else. However, this is going to be delightful. It's going to work out very well. Now, let me show you what we're going to do with this. It's going to be seasoned with a bunch of stuff. We're going to bring in all kinds of heavy artillery. I'm going to use some salt. Going to use my St. Elmo's. Going to use my Jack Daniel's pork rub. There's going to be apple juice involved. There's going to be a little bit of honey involved. There's going to be apple cider vinegar involved. Also, we're going to have some bourbon involved just because I think alcohol is a good theme. Okay, first, we're going to get some Dijon mustard and cover the... Yeah, I said Dijon, not yellow. We're going to go with Dijon because we're cranking it up on the class level to cover up my meat mistake. She's going to hate me when she grows up. Anyhow, here we go. We're going to rub that in. nicely. Ooh, I love the smell of Dijon mustard. Okay, now let's get our salt on first. Oh, calm down, St. Elmo's. You're gonna get on there. We'll get our salt on first. Pretty liberal with the salt. Not a, you know, it's not ridiculous amount, but we're going to put it on there. Okay, just pat that in a little bit. It's gonna be really good. Okay, and now our Jack Daniel's pork rub goes on because it is a delicious thing. Pretty liberal with this. All right, now one thing I forgot to mention in the original conversation about the stuff we're putting on is our brown sugar. That is gonna go right on top. You're gonna cook this bone side down, fat side up. We're gonna put some brown sugar on top so it works its way down through. Just wanna pat this down nicely on top. Let that sweetness work its way through the meat. Now our surprise, yes, a little bit of bourbon. And you want to kind of spritz this across the top. We're going to be using brown sugar, Dijon mustard, the honey, and the bourbon later as well to do a lot of wonderful things. All right, we top this all off with, that's right, our favorite, St. Elmo's seasoning. Smells like a bar in here. How about that? Okay, now this is almost set to go into the smoker, but first what we're going to do is let it rest for about an hour, 45 minutes, get it up to room temperature. That is the secret. So let's see what happens. Okay, so we're ready to get this in the Masterbuilt Electric Smoker. As I mentioned, we are using apple wood. Going to keep the wood pretty heavy on this because it's wonderful with our apple-themed, bourbon-themed pork roast. Now, I debated on whether or not to put it on the rack or put it in a pan. I've opted to do this. We're going to stick it in this aluminum pan because I want to save the drippings to make a very special sauce that we're going to lather over it toward the end, along with some bourbon and some other stuff. So let's get it in there and get it started. We're at 240 degrees right now. Put it on the middle rack. I'm going to back it down to 230, and then we're going to go from there. This is it. A couple hours, we should have a beautiful pork loin roast. Okay, as I continue to ponder exactly what's in the smoker right now, let's move on with the original plans and make now our honey bourbon glaze that's going to go on the roast. That really is going to be tasty. I'll show you how to put that together right now. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to make our honey whiskey glaze that's going to go on top of our pork roast. What you want to do is basically equal amounts of all of the items that we're going to put in here. But we're doing a little over a quarter cup of everything. So we put in our brown sugar. We put in about a quarter cup of our bourbon, because you got to have bourbon if you're going to do this right, since it is a bourbon whiskey glaze. Then we take the Dijon mustard. Does this look familiar? Yeah, because it's the exact same ingredients we put on the outside. And then to top it off, because the honey is in the title of the glaze, we're going to put in some honey. It's going to whisk this until it gets thick and syrupy. Then this is going to be put over top of the pork roast. And before you know it, we're going to have such deliciousness that you're not going to be able to stand it. Let it reduce a little bit. And shortly we'll be putting this on the pork roast. Okay, it's been a couple of hours. The internal temperature is up to 140 degrees. Let's check it, see what it looks like, and figure out how to act from here. Okay, fresh out of the smoker, gotta wrap it now. We're at 140 degrees. We'll let it sit for about a half an hour. Yeah, that's pretty much raw and a major meat mistake. So we're just going to ad-lib from here on out. I'm going to consult one of my favorite books to figure out what exactly this cut is. I still haven't figured it out yet. I haven't seen a picture of anything that looks like it. It certainly doesn't look like a crown roast or a shoulder roast, obviously. I'm beginning to think that's how I'm going to have to handle it. Cook it to a higher temperature, get it up around 200 degrees. But I don't know. We're going to continue the search, figure it out, and see what we get in a few hours. And oh yes, we do have a mystery on our hands. What is this meat? Well, I consulted one of my favorite books, Cook's Illustrated Meat Book. In here you have all the different cuts of meats, from cows and chickens and turkeys and pigs. Going through all of the different cuts of pork, I could not find this thing. It's very dense. That little roast was about 5 pounds. That's heavy for something that size. So there must have been a lot of bone. That's my first clue. I started going through and I came across something that might be it, but I really needed to see the label again because I'm sure it said more than pork loin roast. So I decided to do a little bit of dumpster diving because that's what
Old people do. Old people do.
zip.
Old people do. Old people do.
And you broke the rule of 3. Graphics Fairy, explain the rule of 3, please. Thanks. Thank you, Graphics Fairy. Well done. Now, you'll notice I've put on my thinking cap, which looks very much like my old man golf hat. It's bizarre. Anyway, I did go through the garbage. We didn't dumpster dive. I just went through the garbage can here in the house, and I found the original package, and I looked at it, and it said pork roast across the top, and that's what I saw initially. And then underneath that, it said sirloin roast. Uh-oh. So I consulted the Book of Meats and I discovered that sirloin roast is really kind of crap. Now with the meat book, they describe the cut, then they tell you about the flavor and they can award up to 5 stars, the cost up to $5 signs, alternate name if there is one, and then the best cooking method. Let me tell you what they said about the sirloin roast. This is the description of the cut. This sinuous cut with a good amount of connective tissue is difficult to cook evenly and carve. Oh goody. Under flavor, no stars. Under cost, $3 signs. It was cheap. It was about $9-10 bucks. Alternate name, doesn't even have one. And the best cooking method, they say, none. So, it's time now to get clever and think about this and work it through. So what I did is I wrapped it up, put it back in the smoker at 275 and just cooked the heck out of it for a while. Took it out, opened it up, sprayed it with my apple juice and bourbon mixture, lathered it on top with the honey glaze, put it back in the smoker and smoked it for 2 more hours. 2 more hours. And it actually didn't turn out half bad. You couldn't carve it for heck, but it did taste pretty good. Oh my! Isn't that delightful? Oh, juicy, got your smoke ring, love it. Let's take a taste. That is really good. Hey Alex, do you want to take a taste?
No. Yes, please.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Delightful.
Oh, that Alice, what a hoot. Anyway, it really did taste good, and I can see that what we did, which was planned for the pork tenderloin roast, but ended up on a sirloin roast, would be really, really good. So we'll do this again the right way, and it'll be fine. But you know, I did save it. I got a very tasty piece of this roast that was about that big. Yeah, that's about it. But it was really tasty, and I saved it. So Marin, thank you for being on my video, and I'm sorry I used your shock face, but now your granddad came through, made something that tasted pretty good, so you can smile. Aw, you're so darn cute. Coming up, we're going to redo the tenderloin thing that we just did, but this time I'm going to do it right. Also, Spam is going to enter the picture. Also, I'm thinking about, away from the smoker, making Scotch eggs. And of course, we do have to do a pork butt. Who in his right mind smokes without doing a pork butt? It's all coming your way. I'm excited about this. This is fun. And I thank you for watching.